episode 3. That's a lot. It's 3. We've been talking about making comic books here, but really the most important thing is that you're always writing or drawing and making art. You know, a comic book is a piece of art. It's filled with drawings and scenes that you write, but when you put everything together, the overall package that you make becomes a piece of art in and of itself. Let's take a look at some of the different ways that you can do it if you want, but do it your own way. Here are 2 examples of very professionally made comic books. If you walk into a comic book store, more than likely you're going to see something like this. Now, DC Comics, as a very big publisher, they print on beautiful glossy paper, and that helps the colors reproduce very well. This is a very well-made comic book. Equally as well-made is La Mano del Destino by Jay Gonzo. Now, he has the glossy cover, but his paper is a bit more of a matte finish. But you'll notice that the color reproduces on the matte just as beautifully as it does on the glossy. It's really up to preference, but it's also really up to money. If you're thinking about just starting out and making your own comic book, you probably don't want to spend this much money to make something like this right away. Your best bet is to start off a little bit more simple. Here's one example of a very cheap and simple way to make a comic book, or any kind of book that you want to make. This isn't even a comic book right here. This is more of a zine. It's just filled with art and little poems. Now, it's just on 8.5 by 11 sheets of white paper. I made this on a Xerox machine. I figured out what I wanted on each page, printed it, and then folded them all and gave it a staple. I want to show you this book called Physi by Whit Taylor. She's changed her shape. This is a bit smaller now. And it's still printed on a nice paper, but this is an inexpensive book to make. She uses a different cover stock to differentiate between the cover and the inside. And the inside pages, they have a bit of a gloss to them. This is a very well-made book. But what I find most interesting about this book is that when you get to the middle of the comic, well, then it flips around and it's the end of a different comic book. This one's called Peter the Great, also by Whit Taylor. I show this here because it's an example of how you can have fun with the way you make a book. It doesn't always have to be any specific way. Truce by Lee Luna is a good example of a book that's made a bit more professionally than something on a Xerox machine. It's printed on something called a risograph, and that's just a machine that allows you to print a limited amount of colors. Luna uses this to great effect by giving each character their own color key. That's a very inventive way to make a book, by using the color as part of the story. Take these 2 panels as an example. In this panel, we have a character that's getting a box of waffles out of the kitchen cabinet. It's peaceful, there's no drama, and it's a nice, beautiful little calm green. But don't even think about it. This character's got a little bit of an attitude going on, and she gets the red. Narwhal by Alexandre Beguez is such a beautiful example of how inventive and creative you can get when it comes to making a comic book. Your assumption is that a comic book should have a cover and a story with a beginning, middle, and an end, and then a back cover. Done. Narwhal takes that and alters it 1000%, and to great effect. You'll see here this cover sheet tells you the name of the comic and her name. She's only made 31 of these. I got the 22nd. But you slip this off. You put that to the side. And this comic flips open. You might think that this is just one image, but it's not. That's what's so inventive and wonderful about this book. Each of these folds represents a movement into the next part of the story. We see the group of narwhals. They're hanging out. They're smiling. They're having a good time swimming together. Until we see a net. Oh no. The red one got caught. By these two. And then you flip the whole thing over. It seems like the two fishermen have caught their prize and are heading back to land now. Until the other narwhals, well, they rally. And they break their friend out. And they break the boat. And they're happy again. Well, not everybody. I want to show you one of the books that I made and how I did it. This is a big giant chunk of original art. These are all the drawings and the stories that I made. Well, actually here, that's the cover. After I finished all the different stories and drawing everything, I made this little cheat sheet for myself. It's just a couple of sheets of paper stapled in the middle. It's the exact amount of pages of art that I made. And I was able to decide where every bit of the story goes. This just helped in my planning. It's always good to plan as much as you possibly can. There's nothing wrong with that. Once I had everything planned out, well, then I had it printed. And I did print this on a Xerox machine, so it's not fancy at all. And it's not stapled yet either. When I was all done, I had my own comic. I used this cardboard as a cover. I hand stapled them. And at the end, I glued in these old library cards. I just thought it would be kind of fun. Something different. I hope you guys enjoyed looking at some of those comics with me. Narwhal is one of my favorite books of all time. I think next time we hang out, I'm just going to do some drawing, so come back, and I'll see you then.